and welcome to the Save Our Sperns podcast, Voices from the Frontline. My name is Morella Fife, your host and member of the Save Our Sperns team, and this podcast comes from the Spurn Mountains in Northern Ireland. This is an ancient land shaped by mountains and bogs and by the communities born from them, and whose same peoples are now living with growing pressures from mining and large-scale upland industrialisation. That pressure isn't unique to here. Across the world, the so-called energy transition is driving ever more extraction. There's growing demand for critical minerals and rare earth metals, and that demand is landing on local communities, asking them to live with the long-term impacts of toxic mining. Season 1 looked at why the Spurn Mountains matter through the voices of the people who live here and know this place well. Season 2 keeps those local voices at the centre while also stepping back a bit. In Season 2, we look at extractivism more broadly, how it's been justified, how it's fundamental to a system of accelerated growth, plundering ever more from a finite planet designed only to feed predatory capitalism, creating untold and unprecedented misery simply to support the bottom line of a balance sheet in some distant glass-walled boardroom, far from the ground we're standing on. Thanks for listening. Let's begin. Today, I'm joined by Dermot Devlin, a disability rights advocate, TEDx speaker, and someone who has spent years challenging systems that too often overlook or exclude. Dermot is the founder of My Way Access, working to make everyday spaces genuinely accessible. A co-founder of DPAC Northern Ireland, a grassroots group campaigning for disability rights and social justice, and a director with IMTAC, helping shape more inclusive transport and infrastructure from within the system. Originally from Greencastle, Dermot brings both a deep connection to place and a sharp-lived understanding of what it means to push for change, something that resonates strongly with the work we're doing in Save Our Sperns around voice, inclusion, and who gets to be heard. Hi, Dermot, and thanks very much for welcoming me into your home here this afternoon. It's great that you've agreed to come on the podcast with me. So, to introduce you to our visitors, can you tell me a little bit about yourself, where you live, where you're from originally, where you're living now, and what is it you're up to these days?
Well, my name is Dermot Devlin. I'm originally from Greencastle in County Tyrone, so I'm up there sort of right in the heart of it all, as I like to say.
Yeah.
But I spend a lot of my time now living in Killyclogher, just outside of Omagh. I work part-time for a company called Omagh Enterprise, but my passionate work is working on disabled rights and advocacy across Ireland, the UK and parts of Europe.
Okay. And does your part-time work with Omagh Enterprise Company is a couple of days a week, or how does that work? Or
well, it's part-time, so I do half a day every day, 4 days a week, and I work most of it at home.
Yeah.
One day off at 1 day a week.
Okay. And then what's your passionate interest? Can you just expand a little bit more about that? Because I really don't know anything about it. So describe to me what it involves.
But for anybody that's watching, quite obviously I'm a disabled person, so I'm 3 foot tall and I use a powered wheelchair. But anybody who's listening in the podcast mightn't be aware of that, but they know now. Like with lots of different people, as you know, with the Save Our Sperns and then you've got all these other campaigns across, not just across Ireland, but across the world, fighting for environmental rights, fighting for political rights, fighting for whatever it might be. I spend a lot of my time, my free time, basically is fighting for the rights of deaf and disabled people, in this region and further afield.
Okay. And do you find there's much solidarity? There's within your own group of people, and then outside of that, would you get solidarity, say, from the likes of environmental organisations, or is there much crisscrossing or cross-pollination even?
There was a lot of crisscross, particularly with the anti-poverty movement and the trade unions here, because a lot of disabled people are sort of, because of our nature and our circumstances, not all the case, but the high population are pushed into poverty. And that's what is, as you say, cross-pollination when it comes to the anti-poverty movement. And then the trade unions, they recognise that and they help support us, particularly when it comes to the right stuff like welfare reform, stuff like that. They help support us. When we come to campaigning and we will come to sort of different stuff to make sure that they help us get our message out to the wider population who would be non-disabled, but so, because they're non-disabled, mightn't be aware of what we're going through and what we need to be doing, needs to be done.
Yeah, and I think from my own point of view, so I don't have any experience of being in the company of disabled people, nor do I have it in my family or anything like that. So I would have very little experience, and I often wonder what it is that I don't see or I don't notice. So can you tell us a little bit of what your day-to-day life looks like?
Certainly, after I sort of do my job, then I get into what I like to call my second job.
Yeah.
Which is, so a lot of it is it's not just about, getting on the street campaigning and creating awareness, because that is very important. But a lot of it is the stuff that people don't see. Because I often think people might go, he's only going to these things. He's in the paper, he's just doing this and that. But they don't actually hear away yourself with SOS. They don't see what goes on behind the scenes. So a lot of my stuff is getting letters out, replying to emails and stuff like that. And it's not just about the storm and stuff. It's not just about Westminster, whatever it may. It's making sure the different organisations are keeping up the track of what they need to be doing. Keep it within the law. Responding to maybe Devon's people contact me saying we need to get this sorted out. I'll contact the council, I will contact road service, I will contact statutory bodies to say that this needs to be fixed and solved. So that's the sort of the more localised version of what we do. I also am a director of Impact, which is basically an organisation that helps ensure that public transport, so that's like your buses and your trains, not that we have in this end of the country, but we ensure that is accessible for deaf and disabled people. But as well as that, there is the public ground scheme. So for any big ground schemes in Belfast, Derry, Omagh, whatever, MTAG will sort of work with to make sure that it's accessible for us as well. Like one of my bugbears in life is a simple thing like cobble streets. People think, oh, that's really attractive. It brings a lot of beautiful aesthetics to the town or whatever it may be. But if you're in a wheelchair, if you're using a walking cane or a rollator, that is extremely difficult to go over. And I get a lot of back pain. I get a lot of back pain as it is, but the cobbles will increase that. So that's the sort of the next step up I do. And we would work with TransLink on that and the Department of Infrastructure. Then we do other stuff with Stormont as well. And we do a lot of work over in Westminster to ensure, because it's a trickle down thing. We can only do so much in Omagh. But if the next step up isn't providing support or isn't providing the legalities of what needs to be done, then we kind of have to keep going up. I only started working in Omagh, but I've seen the problems higher up, so that's why I've always sort of moved up to the next day, but trying not to take my eye off what's happening locally as well, because too often that can happen.
Yeah, I understand. And it really is important to get into lobby and Stormont and places like that, so the legislation gets changed and, opens up access to transport and so on in all aspects of life. What is it like? What is accessibility like in general?
In general, it is improving, but we're talking from a very low baseline.
All right.
So it is improving,
but
we're not where we need to be. If anybody follows me like on TikTok or Instagram, they'll see some of the stuff I put up about accessing buses. As it currently is, when I want to go somewhere in the bus, say the Gold Line bus, I have to get onto a platform lift that takes me up, and sometimes that lift breaks. Sometimes the driver doesn't know how to operate it. And a lot of time, people are standing watching me do this, and I feel like an animal in the zoo with people watching. And so, well, in the practical end, it also feels humiliating people watching me.
Yeah.
And there's so many times the bus breaks, and I'm sitting on the bus, and you can just feel the eyes beating on the back of your head.
Oh, yeah.
Because, and I can understand my frustration, because I feel that frustration too, because I have to be somewhere and I can't get there.
Yeah.
But they need to be somewhere, but they can't get there, and they think it's because of me.
Yeah.
But it's not because of me, it's because the government doesn't put the correct resources. They don't put in the right buses that needs to be put in place.
Yeah.
And that's what we're working towards, is to make sure that things are right from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And not coming on at the end to try and fix them. Because it's a big thing, like, as you know from different campaigns, it's so easy to come on at the very end and go, this needs to be fixed. But if they just talk to us from the very beginning,
Yeah.
and that's what they're starting to do now, because they're bringing in new buses that fixes that. But it's coming down very slowly, because buses are like in each your life. So they're just starting to talk about it now. And the buses are coming to Belfast, and they're coming to Derry, but so it'll be a while before it trickles down to Omagh. So at the very least, it could be 5, 6, 7 years before we will see that right bus.
Yeah, but it's like, if you hadn't been working on it for the past however long you've been working at it, it wouldn't be where it is right now. And it's taken that one step forward, isn't it?
But it's like, it's not just me, there's other disabled people doing that, and that's what I say, people don't recognise what goes on behind the scenes. And it's the same with like Save Our Experience and all the other campaigns that are helping to try to stop the raiding in Greencastle and in Experience. People see in the streets, they see in the media, but they don't recognise the hard work that goes on behind it. So a lot of times they can be quite dismissive.
Yeah, yeah. And it's well, there are numerous strands. On one aspect, it's lack of education as to what's actually going to happen when the mining happens, the mining work camps, as they call them. So people don't realise that, and then two, they have no idea of the work behind the campaigns. Absolutely no idea. And yeah, but so it's what we choose to be at, and well, I've dedicated my life to it now, and similarly you've dedicated your life to what it is that you're up to in the world, and there are many like us around the place. And
well, I think a key most important is, it is very important to get out there and campaign to create awareness, but you also have to have the people as well working on the legislation, find out what the laws is,
yes,
find out how it can be stopped using legalities, because standing in the streets, as great as it is, to create awareness and let people know what's happening in Greencastle, let people know what's happening in the Experience. But the government, that doesn't matter to them. What matters to them is the law, and they will try in any way to get around the law.
That's right.
So if you study up hard and find out exactly how you can stop them legally, that is the key to do it.
Yeah, it is. Use the law to win, or use the law to break the law, whichever side you're doing it.
Like, that's one of the key things we're trying to do here in the North, is bring in the legislation from the United Nations, because the UNCRPD, which is basically an international law that protects deaf and disabled people. Now the North don't recognise it. The UK have it, but they're not implementing it properly.
Of course.
So that it's typical.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things, that's what took me over to the United Nations 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Is try and get this embedded, because there's no point telling them this needs to be done. They'll not do it unless legally they have to do it.
Yeah.
It's the same as Stormont, they will not do it unless legally they have to do it.
Yeah.
And Westminster won't do it unless they legally have to do it. So that's why, like myself and a lot of other people, the 70 people from across the North here and the UK, have been working really, really hard behind the scenes to get this implemented and try and get as many parties behind us as we can, because when we get this embedded, it's not going to solve all the problems, but at least it'll give us a legal framework to work on.
Yeah.
Which is probably why they're resistant quite hard at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, with all that's going on in the world, it's better like the Sisyphus, was it the Greek god? He kept rolling the ball uphill or a stone uphill, you know. And you feel that, and probably we feel it as well, you know. But as we say, if we weren't doing what we were doing, there would be a mind there, you know. So it's somebody has to stand up and say, actually, let's look at this differently. And are there other things we could be at instead of could we do it differently, you know? And so long as there's people doing that in the world, I think there's good hope in the world. Huh? Is your voice listened to assert yourself, per se, or
The voice has been listened to because we're forcing people to listen to us.
Yeah.
But the key thing is as well, you really do have to shout and be heard, because there's a lot of consultations I'm involved in. And sometimes I kind of wonder why, because I think some people feel the same. This is a tick box exercise. We talk to them. That's all they need to do.
Yeah.
I've actually seen a certain minister say this in the past, that they spoke to when technically they didn't.
Yeah.
And so you're going to have to keep fighting for that. But it is, there is state, like when we come to the public infrastructure, when it comes to public transport, you know, the previous ministers, last 3 ministers have been very good at taking on board what we've said and what needs to be done.
Yeah.
And I've seen the evidence of that happening, is coming into play now. I should say, the buses that we require are starting slowly to be phased out, and you won't come on. But as I say, it's a decade thing. It's not going to be like a new fleet coming on overnight.
Yeah.
But then there's a lot of cases you have to keep reminding people that, you know, we're here, we need to be heard. There's a mantra when it comes to disabled people, when they're coming to talk about, when they want to talk about disabled rights, and whether it's in Stormont or whether it's Westminster, they tend to talk for us and don't even consult us. So we would normally say nothing about us without us, because whatever you say, it's never going to be right.
Right.
Because you need to talk to people with the lived experience, people that live with the problems, and people that can tell you what needs to be done. Because for somebody who's non-disabled, they will have these ideas of how this will fix it.
Yeah.
But I've got the life experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Other people, like Tony O'Reilly and Derry, have the life experience. You know, June Bass and Moira have the life experience. They say, that's not going to work. This is what's going to work. This needs to fix the problem. And it's starting to happen, but not as much as we would like it or need it to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Does it make you frustrated sometimes?
It can be, to the point, last year, I kind of burnt myself out because I wasn't working at work. I was working in this, and I hadn't had a holiday in a couple of years. In fact, people told me, but you've been in London, you've been in Switzerland, you've been in Dublin. I'm like, no. I was actually working there.
Yeah.
So I didn't get much time off, or that night, one night, to go for a quick drink. But other than that, I just work. Then I completely burnt out, and I just had to step back for 6-7 months. Otherwise, you know, it could have a serious impact on your mental well-being.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that can be quite frustrating, and you could feel like walking away because of your frustration.
Mm-hmm.
But you know you can't, because if I walk away, somebody else walks away, and another person walks away, who's going to be there to fight for it?
That's right.
And the governments will get their way.
That's right.
And that's what they're trying to do now.
They'll take the easiest, cheapest route.
Exactly, because you've got the welfare cuts coming in. You've got the assisted dying act going through the UK. We can see what's happening there.
Yeah.
Because we, like, at the moment, they're saying that it's very stringent laws. You know, you can't get it unless you're terminally ill. There's 6 months left, but we've seen that law coming in different countries, particularly Canada. But then when something comes in, as you know yourself, the law gets lax. They bring in new sort of stuff. Even before it has become a law, it's gone through the House of Lords at the moment. One of the things that they have embedded in it, that could only be signed off by a high judge court. So only they could say this person is allowed to get this
permission.
permission.
Yeah.
Now, even before it got voted in the House, even before it got to the House of Lords, that was dropped.
Okay.
So that's a warning saying they're already dropping it and it hasn't even come in yet.
Right.
And so when you put that against welfare reforms, cutting the benefits of a lot of disabled people,
yeah,
particularly those with mental health issues,
okay,
and you heard about the issues,
yeah,
and saying that you can't have this money unless you go to work. And a lot of people can't go to work because of their physical disabilities, learning disabilities, or sensory disabilities. Then the only way that they can get out of poverty is offer assisted dying. And people laugh and go, that's silly. But the people that are laughing and saying that to me are non-disabled people. But every single disabled person goes to me, yeah, we can see that.
So we see.
And that's why we need the lived experience in there, because we know what's happening. We can see it coming 10 years in the future.
Yeah.
Because we know what's come, we know what we've left.
Yeah.
And they want to drag us back to that.
Yeah, no, definitely want to. Sobering times, huh?
Yeah.
So it occurs to me, speaking to you, we often feel that we are misrepresented and misunderstood, and really right through this campaign, folk have tried to paint it one way or the other, or it's that's the Nationalist Unionist thing, or that's something else, or they're just greenies or whatever, the derogatory, not giving it the importance, because it's a shift from the norm. You've folk living in taking the normal life, and then you get folk like yourself or like ourselves or whatever, and we stand up and say, actually, no, we need to do it differently.
Yeah.
And then it's facing, then you just said it yourself earlier on in this discussion, it's then with that comes the criticism from people on the street. Actually, what are those ones doing? Sure, wouldn't it be great to get money or the gold or whatever, or to create jobs, and that's as far as the thinking goes. So there's quite a lot of parallels between where you are and where we are. And then of course you've come from Greencastle yourself. You're born and reared there, and I'm sure growing up there, you had an appreciation of the hills around you and just the stark beauty of the place.
Oh, definitely. When you're young, you don't really appreciate it as much as you should, but still it was an amazing place to go up to, particularly in the 80s, maybe not as much now, was the way the world turning, but you could leave the house in the morning and not come back to night time, even me as a disabled person.
Yeah.
And your mother and father wouldn't worry because it was a safe place to be.
Yeah.
Everybody knew everybody.
Yeah.
The scenery was wonderful, beautiful. And it's fair, there's a lot of stuff could change.
Yeah.
Particularly was industrialisation coming on. When you hear all this heavy trucks on the road, the obvious pollution that they try to deny will happen.
Yeah.
Which already is happening.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And I know for my fact, because I've got respiratory problems, that the pollution they're talking about, polluting the air, that could affect my health quite a lot. Because making me be aware, but 10 years ago, well, over 10 years ago now, getting old, but 10 years ago I fought a big fight, was storming the new government to get treatment, which I get every Friday now. And that helps me sort of regulate my breathing and make sure that I'm not struggling to breathe anymore.
Yeah.
And I've got a better quality of life as a result of it.
Uh-huh.
But if the really get away and come in, well, that campaign, that fight that I got for, which will help everybody else in the North and the UK, that's me gone.
Yeah.
Because I'll not be able to breathe in it.
Yeah.
And people go, well, you're living in Killycrow now. That's okay. But I'm like, Killycrow not that far up the road. If you don't think there's a environmental disaster, it's going to stop at the Party Boys. It will not. It will go down further.
That's right. Yeah.
But I've still got family and friends in Greencastle. Like, I'm up there all the time. People think I'm practically living there.
Yeah.
And I'm up there that often.
Yeah.
So I can get in there I will never be able to go back to Greencastle for my own health.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if you heard recently, we had Pat and Nuala Gagan on the podcast from Limerick, and they live beside the Auchnish aluminium processing. Well, it's actually 5 miles away.
Mm.
And Pat has desperate breathing problems, and he wasn't born a disabled man, or he's disabled now for sure, but it's exactly because of the chemicals blown around in the air up there, and they're just blowing off the mine waste tailings heap, and plus out the chimneys as well, because they're burning stuff in the chimneys. But and it's the exact same chemicals, you know. And they talk about when a couple of times the red dust from the Sahara has been blown. This red aluminium dust is also blown at the same time, coincidentally. And that dust, one day some years ago, Pat received a phone call, and it was a farmer up in Donegal, and he was 100 miles away or whatever, and his 4 or 5 calves had died on the farm, and they said, listen, these calves are covered in red dust. And he says, do you know anything about this? And Pat was saying, no. He says, that'll be the dust out of Auchnish aluminium. And then they rang the department. That particular farm rang the department. The department came up and took the calves away, so there's no evidence. It's just, you know, so yeah, I would be very concerned if I had, breathing problems, and I'm sure you know plenty of people around the place.
Oh, definitely, and that's sort of improve emphasize what I mean by people think that this is a Greencastle problem. It's not.
Yeah.
Greencastle is the playground for it to get it started.
Yeah.
But even if it was just Greencastle and they got no further, that is not going to be sticking to the parish, won't even be sticking to the council. It will go further afield, because if them dust come all the way up to Donegal, how far could the biggest gold mine in Europe reach?
Yeah. Yeah, that's and the prevailing winds coming from the southwest, just spreading all across the whole of the north, so it's...
if it gets into the water system, they don't kill you. That collects every water system in Ireland.
That's right.
So, it's not a Greencastle problem. Even if it was, I would still fight against it. But we have to stop it now, because once they get in here, it's like anything else, they will just start moving out. And we've already seen them, the vans up in different places, seeing what options there are.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So, come here. Do you see any parallels between what you're navigating and what the communities are facing in the Sperns? Between your own community, disabled community. Yeah,
I think it's quite difficult to get heard sometimes. I think one of the main parallels I see is possibly the frustrations that we both feel. We find that we're coming to the conversation and all about it, even if we're going on to inquiry now in a few weeks' time, or I'm not sure when it comes, in relation to when this be broadcast, that the decision is already made. And it's very hard to fight against that narrative. In the disabled community, I spent a lot of work with many other people with the disability strategy. But then, as we know, Stormont went down, and then when it came back up again, there was a new minister. The new minister decided to do away with all the work we'd done, even though it was 2 years, which made me very angry and remained frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
But the new minister decided, well, didn't need it anymore. He'll just do it the way he thinks without any compensation. So you probably seen me online the last while shouting about the department, shouting about the disability strategy, because they haven't consulted any disabled person regarding it. And as a result, it's not delivering anything that needs to be done. And that's sort of reflecting what Safe Experiences is, the disaster that this is going to bring. But you also have that gut feeling that the decision has been made. So you're just fighting against that now. It's basically what we're doing, is fighting against that decision. And all of that, we needed to be brought in at the very beginning to say that this is what needs to be done. This is what the safety needs to be done for disabled people. This is how it's help us live our lives the best we can. And we do live good lives, and we know me. I enjoy myself. But that's me. Somebody else is a disabled person would have a different experience of life. So it's no point just having me involved. You need all sorts of different voices of different disabled people to get a collective view of what's happening. And to bring us another way and go away, this is the place to be consultation just to see if they're happy. No, we're not happy. Well, work's done. The work's done now. So we're constantly fighting against that, and that's what you should do in Save Our Sperrins. Is you're fighting against the power of infrastructure, you're fighting against Dormant, you're fighting against possibly Westland at some stage, fighting against the EU, the Irish government, although they seem to be a wee bit more favourable compared to Stormont, but we'll see how that rolls out. And the biggest battle is fighting against the Iranian themselves, and all their investors in the US and in Canada. But we should have been involved in that in the very beginning, because a lot more could have been. Now it's all gone. Nothing can be done about it. Like when you talk about cyanide, talk about the UK dumping their nuclear waste in the Sperrins once the radiant moves out, because that's a nice big hole for them. But it's not, you know what I mean? It's absolutely disgusting. It just shows you what respect to have for us here. We don't matter. We're just a bunch of bloody culties on the mountain. We're not equal to people in Belfast. We're not equal to people in London. We're just disposable people. And that's how a lot of disabled people feel, that we are disposable. Particularly now with the assisted dying act coming down very quickly. It does look like they're just keeping to kill them off. But we can't say that. We'll coerce them into it by taking their money away, forcing them into work without giving them the resources to get to work, but to be able to work. And so the frustrations are there, but you cannot give up to the very last day and keep going after that as well, because it's a fight that will go on forever. Like I said, I come on and do this. The whole thing will be done in 2 years. I've been doing this now 10 years, and I'm nowhere near the end. And I said to myself, I'll give myself another 10, 15 years. But I know people in their 70s still working, and I'll probably be doing the same, because the people I work with have been in this game for 30 years. And the government has constantly let them down. I'm what they would call the new blood coming in, even though I'm in my mid-40s. So if I'm a new blood, that just shows me the long journey's going ahead. And unfortunately, that's what's going to be happening for people in Greencastle and in Sperrin Mountains. It's not going to be a battle won with the public inquiry.
No, it is
It's
not.
going to go on.
And
that's a big parallel I see.
Take a change in legislation, because if for some when we win the public inquiry, and they already go away, there will be sure as anything another company coming down the road and try the same thing in 10 or 15 years time or 5 years time.
But that what infuriates me, like the Department of Infrastructure and Department of Infrastructure and Finance, they could just stop. Don't give them the mining license.
That's right.
Don't give them industrial licenses. And I think that's an important thing you need to look at, rather than stopping the radiant now. And do stop them now. But make sure that it can't happen in 15 or 20 years' time. Make sure the legislation is brought in that they can. But to bring it in for fracking. Just to do it for gold mining, zinc mining, whatever mining needs to be done, because we have to protect our land. Not just for us, but for the future. And that's what I'm doing for disabled people. It's probably too late for me to fix everything that I need fixed. And it'll probably be too late for me to fix what I need in the future, because it's going to take a long time to get there. So I'm not fixing it for me. And any disabled person that I know is working on it aren't fixing it for themselves either. reflecting it for the next generation coming up to make sure that their lives a lot easier. And I can see that in say Westburn too. It's not for the people living in Greencastle now. It's for the children and grandchildren coming behind.
Yeah, that's right. And there was a time in the world when slaves didn't have rights or women didn't have the vote. And it would have been seen as an incredible thing to change those things. But it's only by the work that countless people did back then that I've evoked today, and that people who were born to slavery and were generations of slavery, that their ancestors or their children going forward are now free, and that's only because somebody decided they were going to try and do something about it. So,
and I would say, as I said beginning, you can't give up and stop that fight, because the way the world turning to now at the moment, you see in America and parts of Europe, if we let them, they will bring us back to that.
That's right.
So you need to, it's a fight where environmental, disabled rights, or the rights of slavery and women's rights and whatever other sort of rights as well. Just because you want it, you haven't really won it. You just have to stand strong, because you give them, maybe not 10 years, but if you give them another generation, they will come back.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing now.
Yeah.
So stand strong in Greencastle and Aspiring for Gold Mine, and I'll try and stand strong with my community of disabled people, deaf and disabled people, to get right, because it's a fight will never end.
Yeah.
But we will win it.
Yeah. Yeah. Just keep on keeping on. Let's move on the conversation a bit. What do you think we get wrong about what we value as a society?
I think I think the world got too materialistic, and I'm guilty of myself. I'm not going to pretend I'm a peer and anything like that.
Or any of us, for goodness sake.
Yeah, because I don't want anybody watching this and going, hold on a minute.
Yeah.
But I think we put too much value about what's out there, and we don't really think about what's on here or what's in our immediate environment. I'm not just talking environment as in environment, but just what surrounds us.
Yeah.
Because I know people, they can tell you what's happening in America, can tell you what's happening in Iran, can tell you what's happening anywhere in the world. Half of what's happening in the council, wouldn't have a clue.
That's right.
And they couldn't even tell you what your cousin's up to.
Yeah.
Couldn't tell you what even your brother's up to, your sister's up to. But they could tell you what's happening around the world. And I think we still need to get behind what's going on, but we still have to know what's going on around us as well. And again, I go to Comic-Con and I enjoy the life and meeting sort of people that I'm fans of. But this last wee while, that's starting to shift to me. Still enjoy meeting a lot of people, but we do put a lot of idolization in people. And when you see what's coming out about some of them now, like what's in the BBC or what's happening in Epstein Island and P. Diddy and all that stuff, it just, you might love that celebrity, but you don't know them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's we're in a sad place. Humanity's in a sad place, and I really believe myself it's what's going on in the world right now is a battle for the spirit of humanity, and folk keep making a stand for what it is that you believe in, and that's the best any of us can do, really, isn't it? Yeah.
That's it. And hope that you can't push it on anybody else, but just say, be careful.
Yeah.
Because, they might look nice, but it's like, could be wolf walking on your door.
Yeah. And I think I've mentioned this in the past podcast. Some of the indigenous native folk and down in South Africa speak about this would have been going past, I think it was the San people, they speak about the rising of the big man. And so if a hunter comes home carrying a big dead deer or whatever, they will actually tease him and saying he's no good a hunter. What did you bring that home for? Sure, nobody could eat that. It's only rotten out meat or whatever, so that he doesn't get above his station. And they tease him. But we have allowed people to get bigger and the big men and whatever, and it is an awful lot. There are beautiful men in the world, but there's an awful lot of men have got away with themselves, or it's just
it's upsetting when you see some of the stuff's going on. Like,
yeah. So it's just the rise of the big man, and as you say, okay, you might admire a particular celebrity, but for what? Do you know?
Yeah, it's not anything important, really.
That's right. Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, and the arts and culture and craft, incredibly important, but you can get that more locally.
Yeah.
With the score and the Kelly dance and and the bands and whatnot.
Yeah.
You don't need Hollywood for that.
No, you do not. So there's a bit of humour in you. Where does that come from? And I know you dress up occasionally. I'm not quite sure what that's all about. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Basically what I do is cosplaying.
Oh, yeah.
Which is once or twice a year, go to maybe Belfast or Dublin and dress up. And you dress up, and I'm aware this is completely going to contradict what I just said. But that's life full of contradictions.
Why not?
But you dress up as your favourite film star, TV star, comic book stars.
Okay.
So that's what I do.
And there's a whole community of people that do that? Right?
Oh, they come from all over.
Really?
It's absolutely fantastic. Like, I mean, it's that big anytime it's in Belfast, anytime it's in Dublin. It makes the TV. Because it's on the news, like, who are these people and all. Like, if you went past the convention centre in Dublin and convention in cosplay day, you will just see a sea of people. And when I dress up, I kind of lead into my disability.
Yeah.
Making it part of what it is. So a friend of mine, Will Comby Boomer, he builds the costume around the wheelchair, and then I get a costume built for myself.
Right.
So it's like, for one thing that I did, which actually was one of my favourites, was Tyrion Lannister from Game of Thrones. Right, I don't know if you're familiar with the show.
Yeah, I remember a few. Yeah,
well, Tyrion Lannister was the dwarf from that episode. So I just thought, what, if I'm going to do anybody, and I like to lean him to my disability.
Right.
So I heard that all, and look, me cousin then build the big iron throne that fitted to the back of the wheelchair. So I drive me by Dublin with the iron throne, and it's just all built into me.
Brilliant.
And I think it's also, as I find it, it's a great icebreaker as well, because while when it comes to disabled people and disabled rights, things are starting to improve. But people still feel a bit standoffish when they meet somebody or see somebody disabled. Like, the first reaction is,
yeah.
And I think, can't go near them because I might hurt them.
Mm-hmm.
Or I might go over there and I say the wrong thing. They're really scared. But because I'm dressed up as a character, they think it's fantastic. They come over and they start chatting about the character I'm doing it, and tell me, and after a couple of seconds, how's that work with being disabled? And just for that few moments, I'm sort of equal with them, which I should be, and I am. But some people
will see it differently.
But for that few moments, I'm an equal with them, because I share the same love with them as characters and stuff, and then they feel comfortable to ask me about my disability. Now, they don't ask anything medical, because I'll never answer that.
Yeah, sure.
But they were like, how do you manage that? And, that wheelchair's great. What all that type of question? 100% down. And we go, like, you're 3 foot tall. Does that restrict how you get on? And I say, well, what restricts me is the environment around me, not actually me being 3 foot tall. So they go, but so they walk away, and they have an appreciation of what it's like to meet somebody who's disabled. So I hope the next time they see someone in the street, not that they'll run up and start chatting to them, but it'll just be like walking past you. It'll be like,
how you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's brings a bit of normalcy for everyone, for all sides, really. It's just a pity you have to dress up to do it, isn't it? But if it's a bit of, it's enjoyable, and
it's a way to
bit of banter, a bit of crack,
And like, I've kept in touch with a lot of these people now, and for them, I'm just down with part of crack. It's not like other time with the guy in the wheelchair who is funny.
Yeah.
That's down with my friend who's good crack.
Yeah. So what gives you hope, Dermot?
Hope. Um, in the world at the moment, it's hard to tell. But what gives me hope is actually it's not what's going on out there. It's meeting people in the street that you don't know and they show you kindness, which is quite rare in this world nowadays. Not saying it isn't kindness, but when you get it, it's grand, it's good. Like, I was over in Switzerland 2 years ago, and I was sitting at the trying to get logged in, not logged in, but get my tickets and all sorted out at the gate, and seeing this wee guy staring at me, and I just said, "Oh, here we go again," and he kept staring, and going, "Oh, what's this about?" And I think he was about 8 or 9, so a young lad, and he came over and he goes, "I wear hairnet just like you." He said, "It's so cool to see that." And he walked off, and I just thought, that's really nice.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
and then even around the corner, I was walking there a couple of weeks ago, no, a couple of months ago, and I seen another guy coming walking up with a young child, maybe been 5 or 6. I kept pointing at me, and I just went, "Oh, here we go." And he came over, and he stopped me, and said, hey, and I went, "What?" He goes, "I think he's going to talk about the wheelchair, me being 3 foot tall," or whatever. He said, "I like your t-shirt." And if we think like that, it's giving you hope that the next generation is moving out of the old stigmas.
Yeah.
And seeing beyond what the media tells you, that certain sections of the community are the ones you meant to highlight. And I'm not talking about celebrities, but a certain aesthetic, or certain personality, or a certain amount of wealth somebody should have, or a certain career somebody have. People are like, "No, that doesn't matter anymore." What matters is if you make a connection with somebody. And it doesn't even have to be a connection you have for a lifetime, or a connection you have for a month. Even if it's a 2-minute connection, like I had over the road, just because somebody likes my t-shirts, to me that's what's giving me hope.
Yeah.
That they're not listening to what they should be doing, they're listening to what is right.
Yeah, what's coming from their heart.
Yeah.
And what keeps you going when it'd be very easy not to?
Pardon?
What keeps you going?
Keep me going. Most strict on myself now when it comes to taking time off to myself. So, see, from a Friday to a Sunday, I will do absolutely nothing when it comes to my job. Absolutely nothing when it comes to disabled rights, because it took me a long time to learn it, nearly burn myself out of it. That, yeah, I work hard, like a lot of people do, but I do deserve my own downtime, my own quality time. Whether that means going to Harry's for a couple of drinks, or going to Bogans for a couple of drinks, or even just lying on the sofa with my dog, watching TV. I need to have that, because you do need to switch off. I get a lot of support from my friends, because they're now seeing that, you see the red flag coming up where I'm starting to struggle, and they're like, sit down, put that away, don't turn on the TV, don't turn on the laptop, don't answer that phone. Let's go out for a couple of hours, go for a walk, or let's go to the cinema, or let's go for a cup of coffee, whatever it might be. So that's great. And then, obviously, above all that is my family. Anytime that they struggle, they're in there and they're down, and they make sure that I don't get overwhelmed, and make sure that they don't take on too much, which I've been accused of quite a few times by a lot of people, because, as you know yourself, when you're involved in a certain sector, it's very hard to say no to somebody, especially when you know to destruct them.
Yeah.
But they always remind me that if you struggle, you can't help anybody. So you need to learn to say no to somebody, so that you can help more people. So that kind of gives me a chance to keep going, but also to know I need to stop, because I had to stop for 6 or 7 months.
Okay.
And took me 46 years to learn that. But
slow learner. I think on that note, we'll call it a day on this, and thanks a million for chatting to me, and very much appreciate your support for the campaign, and
Thank you very much.
And hopefully there'll be lots more cross-pollination between us all.
And a lot more successes too.
Thanks, Doug.
Thank you. Now.
There's a real thread running through this conversation that goes far beyond any one issue, whether it's disability rights or communities facing large-scale developments. The experience is often the same. Decisions made at a distance, consultations that feel like a formality, and very little space for genuine local voices or lived experience. And yet, those decisions are so often justified in the same way, through economics, through growth, through the idea that this is simply how things have to be. But that's a story we've inherited, not one we're obliged to continue with. If we began to question it, if we allowed ourselves to imagine that other ways of valuing people, place and community were possible, what might change? You've been listening to the Save Our Sperns podcast, Voices from the Frontline. Thank you for joining us today. All the links you'll need, from campaign updates to our social media pages, as well as links shared by today's guests and resources mentioned in the conversation, are available in the show notes. Please take a moment to share this podcast with friends, neighbours, or anyone who cares about protecting our land and communities. And don't forget to hit the follow button on your podcast platform. It really helps the algorithm spread these voices further. Together, our voices are stronger. Thanks for listening, and until next time, keep standing with the land, the water, the air, and the people who protect them.